This is not the original manhwa. I was trying to complete it because it was discontinued, but recently I saw a lot of negative comments. So I was thinking of stopping completing it, so write in the comments what you think. Minjuri encountered the very presence she didn't want to face. It was an orc. It looked just like the orcs from the game, so she recognized it immediately. Then the orc's axe blade swung towards her shoulder. Fortunately, she dodged it and said, "Dodging is easy, and Ryu told me that one of their weaknesses is accuracy." Then she tried to search for a loophole to target the orc's neck, but targeting the moving opponent's neck was far from easy. Unlike in a game, there were no hit rate corrections. And she said, "If I mistakenly strike somewhere else, I'll be on the receiving end of a counterattack." And while evading the axe, Minjuri seized the opportunity to thrust her sword at the orc's neck. But because of the orc's sudden movement, the thrust ended up hitting its chest. Fortunately, the rapier, which had entered smoothly, was quickly withdrawn. Usually, weapons get stuck and players cannot pull them from the orc's body, and most players panic and often end up killed. But Minjuri was lucky this time too and said happily, "Thankfully, it didn't get trapped in the muscles as I feared." And she constantly targeted the neck and continued her attack. And finally, on the 6th attempt, she managed to pierce a hole through the orc's neck. After killing the orc, Minjuri breathed heavily and said, "It was tough, but I did it. I managed to defeat an orc one-on-one." Then Minjuri blinked repeatedly for no apparent reason, and she said in amazement, "What's this? Am I seeing things?" This was because the man she had been relentlessly searching for was walking towards her, and she said to herself, not believing what she saw, "Is the person in front of me really Black Scythe? Seriously?" And brief astonishment was followed by a sigh of relief, as the man she had been fervently seeking was approaching, but suddenly Ryu passed by her and did not speak to her. Minjuri quickly shouted, "Excuse me?" as she didn't want to waste the opportunity like the last time. Then Ryu turned around swiftly and said, "What's up?" When she attempted to speak, her mouth felt strangled, but she gathered some of her courage and spoke as though she was reciting words. Her hesitation was evident. "Black Scythe, let's team up." Ryu raised an eyebrow and said, "What? Why should I team up with you?" Minjuri realized that demonstrating would be quicker than explaining, and she suddenly extended her hand, a burst of light emanating from it. As the light seeped into Ryu's consciousness, he became amazed, but this was fake amazement because he knew her ability and everything about her and said, "What's this?" Minjuri said proudly and confidently, "This is Bless, my buff skill. It lasts for 3 hours. Most likely, all stats have increased by 50%. And to complete the fake play, Ryu looked into the system window and said, "It appears to be true." Then Minjuri said, "Is this explanation sufficient? My buff can be a tremendous aid during hunts." Ryu said, "So, if I want to continue receiving your buffs, you want me to team up with you?" Minjuri replied, "Yes, to be precise, assist me with my hunting." Then Ryu rubbed his chin, pretending to ponder, and looked at her with an intentionally cool gaze, and said, "I hold the upper hand here, but I could use you as my subordinate right away." Minjuri was taken aback, as this turn of events hadn't crossed her mind. Then Ryu said, "Can you promise not to stab me in the back?" She replied, "Well, of course." Ryu said, "Very well, let's give it a shot. And since we're teaming up, let's at least have a brief introduction. Black Scythe, level 32, class Reaper." Minjuri said, "I'm Democracy, level 13, and I'm a buffer." Then Ryu asked her, "Do you need help, though? I saw you dealing with the orcs quite well earlier." She replied, "It was my first time, and to be honest, it was tough." Ryu said with fake astonishment, "It took you about an hour and a half to take your first kill?" Minjuri laughed and said it just turned out that way. She was unable to say that waiting for Black Scythe had caused her to waste precious time. Then Ryu said, "Looks like we're short on time." Minjuri replied, "Yes, I just took down one orc and I need to hit 300 quickly." Ryu said, "Then let me speed things up." She said anxiously, "How can you help?" Ryu said to her, "I'll weaken the orcs enough for you to finish them off. You just need to land the final blow and the credit will be yours. Can you manage that?" In gaming terms, he was suggesting she land the killing blow. Minjuri said confidently, "Absolutely. You saw me handle the orcs earlier. I'm not weak enough to be unable to finish them." Then Ryu said, "Then there's no need to worry. Let's go." But suddenly she said, "Just a moment." At Minjuri's call, Ryu Min turned casually and said, "What's up?" she said, worried. "While I appreciate the help, I'm wondering if my presence will disrupt your quest." But Ryu said, "Don't worry about that. I've already completed the main quest," Minjuri said, surprised. "Really?" And she continued, saying to herself, "He's already taken down 300 orcs? Yet there are over 8 hours left for this round to end." While Minjuri contemplated this, Ryu continued, "I'm not aiming for the main quest. It's a sub-quest. I've already obtained 1 balance stone," Minjuri said in amazement. "Oh, you've already got one," Ryu replied. "I defeated the boss orc warrior. To get the others, I'll likely need to defeat more bosses." And he continued saying, "If you're interested in the sub-quest, just let me know. I'll give you a shot at facing bosses solo," she replied quickly. "Oh no, taking on orcs alone is already tough." Then Minjuri clapped her hands together and sneakily glanced at Ryu and said, "So that's what you were worried about? You thought I might covet the balance stone and betray you." Although she believed in him, Minjuri couldn't help but think that way. And she continued saying, "Don't worry, Black Scythe. I have no ambitions for sub-quest. I'm content with the main quest alone, so there's no chance of betrayal. Not that I have the skills for it." Ryu said, "Got it. I'll see if I can trust you." With that, Ryu took the lead, and Minjuri followed closely, keeping up. But suddenly Ryu said, "Don't stay behind. Come to my side. If you're out of my sight, I can't protect you." Minjuri said, "Sure thing." After a while, Minjuri no longer feared Black Scythe and said to herself, "He's not as ruthless as I thought based on our conversation." And he offered help, advised me to move to the side when danger lurked, and subtly looked out for me. And she continued saying, "Min made the right call. Honestly, I was unsure if Black Scythe would agree to party up with me, but now he's helping me." And she wondered how they would tackle the orcs, but she would find out eventually. With those thoughts in mind, as they walked side by side, a group of orcs suddenly appeared. As 3 orcs approached menacingly, Minjuri raised her rapier, bracing herself. At that moment, Ryu said, "Wait a moment," and stepped forward, swinging his scythe low. The orc's thick legs were severed, like slicing through meat, and the upper bodies of the fallen orcs hit the ground, and Ryu Min's scythe flashed once more, and this time the arms were severed from the torsos. The orcs, now with just torsos and heads, cried out in agony. Then Ryu said, "Now, finish them off, all 3. But Minjuri was hesitant. Seeing that Ryu said, "Why are you hesitating?" she apologized and regained her composure and moved toward the orcs. Taking their lives wasn't a difficult task, especially when dealing with helpless opponents who had lost their limbs. After Minjuri killed the orcs, system messages appeared. "You have defeated the orcs. Experience gained, plow 2.35%, gold, 40. At that moment, Minjuri's mouth hung open as she read the messages that appeared, and she said, This is, even if it's easy, this is too easy." She knew firsthand how challenging orcs could be, because orcs were no pushovers as goblins. So even though they were considered tough, she expected there to be some level of danger, but it's not dangerous at all. After that, her admiration for Black Scythe's skills was renewed. Then Ryu said, "Let's continue. Now write in the comments if you want the next parts."